Hi. When you should leave a relationship? Whenever you want. Very simple. Like, we make so much sacrifice as men. And I do not wish to make a division and animosity between men and women by stating this, but in society we are labeled as martyrs and as white knights who are supposed to sacrifice so much to accommodate women and to put women on a pedestal up to the point that it is expected of us to sacrifice our well-being, jobs, resources, and time to accommodate women who would not do the same for us. That does not lead to relationship equilibrium. And so many men often find themselves in situations where they have, as they say, no choice but to follow their imperative imposed by the society, which is to accommodate women's needs, and thus prove their value and worth to themselves and society, while being completely unaware of their own conditioning. This has been going on for decades, and the reason it is coming up now is because men are waking up to the reality of them being used for their resources and capabilities, especially after the trial between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. And Johnny Depp's victory in that case is the epitome of what is happening to men today in abusive relationships. If you recognize abusive patterns in relationship, you should leave. Not because the person is bad, the woman is bad. We do not care about those aspects yet. You should do and should always have the freedom and the power to do what is good and right for you. We tend to forget that in relationships as men, because we get into the relationship and then we think that we should stay in it because we have no other options. Our power as men lies in our options. Now, I'm not suggesting that we should go around and sleep with as many women as possible. Absolutely not. However, if you choose to commit to one woman and one woman fully, you need to make sure that the arrangement and the conditions under which that is done are, first of all, reciprocal, so that you are equals in that, and that what you invest is reciprocated with an equal amount of investment, proportionate to what you're doing, and in accordance with the woman's desires and needs. So that there is no miscommunication, and so that there is no misunderstanding when conflict occurs. And so that no side feels used, abandoned, or in any way mistreated. When you notice that, and people normally notice this in the beginning, there is the love bombing phase, there is the phase where you are showered with love and there is so much sex and so much affection, and then the guard drops, normally for both, but you will notice a difference in how you are treated as a man and how you are spoken. If your woman respects you, she will respect you in every aspect of her life, which means the way she speaks to you, speaks about you to her friends and family. And be very mindful of this, because you never want to engage with a woman who tells one story about you and then the other story to someone else, because that means that the woman is probably not honest with you. And I'm not going to tell you what you should do or shouldn't do. It's completely up to you. But if I, for example, hear that someone who claims they love me speak badly about me somewhere else, then I do not trust that. And that is not healthy for me. And therefore, I choose to leave. Instantly. That is not negotiable for me. And that is not something that I engage with in any way, because I'm not trying to change the person. And we should not aim to change people. That is why so many relationships fail. We enter relationships with the ambition and hope of the potential of the relationship instead of the reality of the relationship. And we stay in the relationship hoping that our partner will change. They won't. Because we won't. Because for any of us to change, we first need to acknowledge that there is something not wrong per se, but that something has happened. And that if we cannot address this and speak about this openly and honestly with each other, with the intention of exploring it together, not me assuming that I'm right and you assuming you're right, but coming together and observing it for what it is, even if it meant separation, even if it meant us going our separate ways. Because that will actually make us love and respect each other more in a sense than us staying in order to prove something to someone else, ourselves, or each other. And it won't work. It will backfire and it will inevitably sabotage the relationship. Do not ignore what we refer to as red flags. I do not like the term, but it's a very colloquial term, so I will use it for the sake of that. Red flags are not indicative of the person being bad or narcissistic or whatever. And be very mindful, if you point a finger at someone and call them a narcissist, you're actually calling yourself a narcissist. So be very mindful of that, because the observer is the observed. And unless you've made sure that someone is a certain way through your own exploration and through your own conclusion, not because you read it somewhere else, be very mindful how you call and label someone. Back to red flags. Now, you will notice that red flags, as I mentioned before, are not indicative and demonstrative of a person's inherent or innate qualities. They might be, but we're not here to judge someone else. We're here to just see if this is compatible with us and who we are. That's it. If this works for you, it works for you. If it doesn't, why would you want to be there? Run, get away from there. Because you are actually rerouting and rewiring your own inner programming and coding, which clearly says, run. And people will actually shame you for this by saying, well, that's just a survival strategy. You need to overcome that. Might be true in one sense, but in another, why would you not want to optimize your survival conditions? If you are with a woman and your body is screaming to get out of there, then you should get out of there and then resolve what is right and what is wrong. But every time and each time you don't follow that which tells you something is wrong and you don't question it, especially not with that person, it's up to you to ask yourself, are you in the right relationship or whatnot? Friendship, whatever it is. A red flag can be anything that you simply don't like. Now, please make a distinction between something you don't like and want to control, which is not good, and something which simply doesn't appeal to you. For example, the trait that men of high value seek in women is for them to be loyal, to have very few, a low number of sexual partners, and to be committed and to want to have children. Simple and clean. Very narrow for most people, but in essence, very crucial for people such as myself, for example, who want to find someone who has those qualities. Some people will say these are high standards, that these are whatnot, but as a man, you have options. You can build yourself up, build your body, build your character, build your reputation and success, and that automatically places you in a position where you're all of a sudden able to choose. And you will notice this by actually women being the ones approaching you. And most men cannot even grasp this because men are so used to being the ones approaching women and kissing up to women that it is unfathomable to them that they can be the ones improving and working on themselves because due to their programming and conditioning, they believe themselves to be the ones that are going to carry the relationship if they're the traditionalist type, for example. If they want to be the ones providing for the partner, for the woman, and then woman doing her parts of the task if we're talking about traditionalist relationship, which actually works. But we tend to push this aside due to, let's say, feminism or modern contemporary way of observing relationships and whatnot. But essentially, men want certain things, and there are, even though it's a big generalization, it does make scientific sense in a biological sense of what men want. So when you observe humans as species who are between tournament species and pair bonding species, and I will go into detail of this about in another video, we are somewhere in between. We're highly complex. And we have deeply embedded mechanisms that help us select, partner select, And what gets in the way of that is our trauma, previous experience, wounding, whatnot. All of that is your responsibility to heal, get over with, and enter a healthy relationship if that's what you're looking for. And if not, don't waste someone's time and don't waste your own time. I made a mistake of entering a relationship with a woman who actually didn't want to be in a committed relationship. And she told me that after the relationship, and when I broke up the relationship, knowing and realizing, well, I just wasted a year of my life. And this can happen to you and anyone else. This can be you doing that, or that can be done to you. That doesn't make it good or bad, but you should know where you stand as a person so that you don't waste someone else's and your own time. Get your shit together, figure out what you want from your life, and just start doing what you're meant to be doing. In terms of the red flags, if you identify a behavior you do not like, and not just like, are repulsed and repelled by because you simply do not want that in your life, you have the right to walk away. And you don't have to make any excuses for that, but it will be very nice to explain to the person why you do that. And if you explain to the person why you're leaving them, and if they make a ruckus out of that, if your life becomes increasingly bad as a consequence of you making a choice that is better for you, then you know you made a good choice. And if you're overthinking it as a man, that is perfectly normal and it is perfectly fine. The society is still not ready for men who are empowered, because up to this point we have been disempowered and told we are the ones in power. And this is something that is about to change, because as we are waking up as men, we are becoming better and therefore attracting better women. So just work on yourselves, do what you're meant to do, and identify red flags in time. I will create a separate video in which I will speak in detail about red flags, what they are, because I just wanted to touch upon the surface now and give some broader definitions. I'm still learning how to speak, so I can see that I'm all over the place. I need to make some notes. But I appreciate this time and I appreciate you watching this video. If you liked it, you know what to do. Like, share, subscribe. Probably you can see it here, whatever I put it. And there'll be more. And I look forward to discussing these very important topics. Take care.